we have these crossroads. And you know, either way you choose, your life is going to be different.
The universe doesn't exist, but God thinks it does.
We have to stop consuming our culture. We have to create culture.
Stupidity has a definite evolutionary function. I am all for abolishing stupidity, but before it goes, we should pay tribute to it.
Greetings and welcome to the Nonsense Bazaar. We're your hosts. I'm Willow Truman.
I'm Sequoia Kennedy.
And today, we're going to be covering a topic that a lot of you are probably just going to skip over today because you thought it sounded boring. Well, guess what?
What?
It's not.
Hell yeah.
It's really not. You know, I've been playing a lot of Crusader Kings 3. So I'm at the point where 1500 really doesn't feel like that long ago to me.
Right, yeah.
And I'm just like, I keep getting called to the past. We visited the 1600s with our Jane Led series.
Yeah, we've been around.
We've been around. We went back to the 13th century for Hildegard.
Yeah, I mean, we were in the 1500s for fucking little Jeffrey.
Yep, and we're back.
Hell yeah.
We are back in the 1500s to examine the reign of Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II.
The Holy Roman Emperor.
I know, what a title. Have you ever wondered what it's like to stand at the crossroads of greatness and failure? Magic and reality.
No.
Vision and delusion.
That's me every day.
Yeah, you don't have to wonder.
I don't have to wonder
there.
shit.
Allow me to set the scene. We are in 16th century Prague, where famous artists, alchemists, and astronomers were all gathering together in the court of Rudolph II. It was a place where creativity knew no bounds. They're making crazy art. Cups fashioned from rhinoceros horns and intestinal tumors said to be able to transmute poison.
What?
They were making paintings of unicorns. It was awesome. All sorts of crazy shit.
Oh, they're just losing their minds.
No, it was a golden age of exploration.
Sure, yeah, that's what I said.
Right. Yes. But our famed patron of the arts, Rudolph the Visionary, was also Rudolph the Ineffectual, because his obsession with art and the occult left him disconnected from the political upheavals of his time.
Yeah.
Yeah, while creativity flourished within his court, religious conflicts were simultaneously tearing the empire apart beyond the palace walls. His indecision and detachment led to political decay, a crumbling empire losing its grip on power and prestige. So why should you care about this crazy old emperor?
As a cautionary tale, to let you know that wizards and psychedelic warriors aren't good at running things.
It's true. Yes. Here's a man, a ruler, whose love for the mystical became either his triumph or his downfall, depending on who you ask. His story to me is a reflection of the timeless struggle between passion and duty, between following your dreams and having to stay grounded in reality. It's a snapshot of Europe on the brink of transformation, caught between the glow of the Renaissance and the dark clouds of the 30 Years' War. So to me, Rudolph II's reign is a display of the best and worst of human nature, a lesson in the balance between vision and responsibility, and a story that speaks to the artist, the dreamer, the historian, and the realist in all of us, or at least in me. So with that, let's pull our tarot card.
Or at least in me.
I like it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What do you got?
We have the Eight of Pentacles.
Oh.
Have we ever seen her?
Yes.
Yep. We have.
Is that the 8 or the 9? It's 9, dog.
I can't count. You're right. That is 9.
Yeah. The 9 of Pentacles. Yeah. Jesus Christ. My brain's half here today. I saw Willie Nelson last night, and my brain feels like it's also 90 years old. 9 of Pentacles, also called Gain, is Venus in Virgo.
This lady knows how to keep her checkbook in order.
Yeah, it's the 9 of Pentacles is, Yesod in Asaya. It's the sphere of that which is manifesting into Malkuth, the final manifestation in Asaya, the world of Earth. The gain, the luck implicit in the 9 of Pentacles is like the luck and the joy that comes from having your checkbook balanced.
Yeah.
The good
being
luck
independent.
Yes, being independently...
She's an independent woman. She is, though.
Independently happy in your garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the attendant, the luck and good fortune that's creating your own luck, essentially, by taking care of your responsibilities and finding joy in having your checkbook balanced is what I would say about the Nine of Pentacles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did Rudolph have his checkbook balanced?
Like, money was no object.
Yeah.
It was his mind.
Ah.
That was the problem.
Oh, no.
Right? Man, all right. Let's go back in time.
All right.
Okay. We're in the late 16th century. This is the time when Rudolph II ascended to the throne. And it's a time of huge shifts in Europe. The Holy Roman Empire, of which Rudy would become the figurehead, was a sprawling entity made up of a bunch of semi-autonomous states, duchies, regions. And as Voltaire famously quipped, the empire was neither holy nor Roman, nor much of an empire, really.
Yeah.
It was just like 300 little territories all merged together.
Yeah. That's a really interesting, like, geopolitical, geographical fucking thing that the Holy Roman Empire was not Roman. It was in fucking Germany, modern day Germany and Central Europe. And it was like as fucking medieval ass shit as you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that's that medieval shit.
Yeah, and the emperor, his power, basically more symbolic.
Yeah.
Than real.
Yeah.
So you got the Holy Roman Empire. Like we said, not really holy or Roman or an empire.
Right.
It's got a bunch of religious conflict going on in it. The divide between Catholics and Lutherans. The Protestant Reformation's on the way. You got the 30 Years' War that's going to take place 9 years after Rudolph's death. So there's a whole lot of religious shit going on.
Yep.
Now, Rudolph II's family connections tie him to Spain's Habsburg dynasty, which was then at its zenith of colonial exploits, boasting a mighty navy.
Oh, did Jesus Christ, like, the Habsburgs of Spain. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's
the big boys.
Well, that's the least Spanish name I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, Habsburg is not a very Spanish name.
It's really not. But
that is part of where Rudolph II's family came from.
Okay.
Now, at the time, the Spanish Habsburgs, they were at their zenith of colonial exploitation, boasting a huge navy.
The Armada.
Yes. However, it was a navy soon to be humbled by England.
Yeah.
An ascendant naval power and a stronghold of Protestantism under Queen Elizabeth I.
Yep.
So while England was sailing uncharted waters, France, another neighbor and rival to the Holy Roman Empire, grappled with its own religious wars between the Catholics and the Huguenots.
Fucking Huguenots.
And over to the east, you got the Ottoman Empire. They're cutting back their maritime expansion after the Battle of Lepanto. But they remained a looming presence and a continual reminder of the religious and territorial struggles that defined the age. Russia began asserting its might under Ivan the Terrible, while Poland-Lithuania offered a model of religious tolerance and political decentralization. Quite the opposite of the Holy Roman Empire's whole deal. So now that you understand the geopolitical stage that this play is set on...
Medieval feudal shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's fighting and... our borders wanted you... Oh, you took away our land, we want it back.
There's fucking de jure claims and fucking territories, lines of succession. Who's fucking who,
Oh, who's fucking who?
Who's fucking who?
I'll tell you. We're going to talk about them now.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the Habsburgs.
The Habsburgs. How'd they get Spain?
We're keeping it in the family. We're keeping it in the family.
Oh my
Me
God.
And my sister love each other more than life.
Wow.
We're keeping it in the family. Hey, we're keeping it in the family. Now I am your husband and your brother. You are my sister and my wife.
Yeah, that's how they got Spain.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Rudolph II was born into the illustrious Habsburg family, one of the most powerful royal dynasties in European and world history. The family's domains spanned across present-day Austria, Germany, Spain, and even parts of France and Italy. Stretched up to the Netherlands, too. They had domains in the Americas, all over the place. Their motto was, "Let others wage wars, but you, happy Austria, marry." Because they were, after all, known for their policy of dynastic marriages, aka keeping it in the family.
Keeping it in the family.
Yes. This would lead to a genetic condition known as the Habsburg jaw.
Oh.
Chins to rival Mark Prophet, the great chinolingus himself. And in addition to the physical side effects of inbreeding, many members of the clan suffered from unfortunate mental health problems, Rudolph II included.
Yeah.
Now, Rudolph had bouts of depression, but honestly, as we'll hear throughout the episode, his relatives have him beat in terms of out-crazying each other. This is a fucked up family.
Yeah, I don't doubt
This is, I'm sure, what a lot of what Game of Thrones is inspired by.
Yeah. That, and I mean, it's that medieval shit.
That medieval shit.
Yeah.
So perhaps you've heard of Joanna of Castile.
Perhaps.
Yeah, Joanna the Mad. Well, she married Philip the Handsome, Duke of Burgundy. And when he died, she had a hard time with that.
Yeah.
Refused to part with his corpse.
Oh, no.
Traveled around with his coffin.
No.
Till eventually she was deemed unfit to rule.
Yeah. Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
She was just, at least she wasn't like Weekend of Bernie's.
No, but that being said,
him.
There's a lot of scholars that argue that maybe she wasn't as crazy as they said she was.
Okay.
Maybe she just had some mood disorders, might have had schizophrenia, but it seemed like the men around her, notably her father Ferdinand, and later her son, Charles V, stood to gain something from her being declared incapable of ruling.
Yeah.
So,
look,
it's a toss-up.
It's not a toss-up. Both things can be true. She was traveling around with a coffin.
Yep.
Like, both things can be true.
Yeah.
I'm no psychiatrist, but if someone's traveling around with a stinky-ass coffin, their husband inside, I'm going to say maybe they're unfit to rule.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I need to re-say that sentence.
Okay.
The Habsburgs came from modest beginnings in 11th century Switzerland, where they initially held titles as counts in the region, meaning they had control of counties.
Right.
Eventually, they transformed from counts to emperors through the use of those strategic marriages, expanding their territories through these marriage alliances. One of their first key acquisitions was the Duchy of Austria, which they came to rule in the 13th century. Now, what's a duchy? Counts own counties, dukes own duchies.
Yep.
We know the Duke of Earl. We've heard the song.
Yeah.
So they go from counts in Switzerland to dukes in Austria, but then how do they go from that to ascending the throne of the Holy Roman Empire?
I don't know. Probably more fucking.
Yes. So first of all, the Holy Roman Empire is not a hereditary monarchy.
Right.
So you don't have to be born into it. In fact, each new emperor is elected by a group of prince-electors. So once the Habsburgs gained more control over Austria, thanks to the vastness of their territories and influence and diplomatic skill, they maintained control over the Holy Roman throne for about 400 years.
Whoa.
All the way until the dissolution of the empire in 1806.
Oh, wow.
Pretty impressive reign.
Oh, okay. So they just fucking banged their way into getting a bunch of prince-electors and just got control.
That are all
over.
like distant family members and shit, right? Because everybody's a distant family member at this point.
Yeah. Okay, good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first Habsburgs to become Holy Roman Emperor was Frederick III in 1452, while Francis II was the last. When the empire dissolved during the Napoleonic Wars in 1806, Francis II became Francis I, the first emperor of Austria now. And this happened because of something called the War of the Fifth Coalition, where the Austrian Empire was trying to recover territory that they had lost to France in previous wars. Gotta maintain those borders. I've played Cruise Kings.
Cruise Kings?
How it is.
It's a different game.
Is it?
No.
I would play the shit out of that one. Now, despite early successes, the Austrian forces were ultimately defeated, had to sign a treaty, 1809. get wrecked. So now Austria, with Emperor Francis I at the head, it's not doing too hot because they had to cede back a ton of territory to France. They got to pay a bunch of indemnity.
Yeah.
And Germany's not really on their side anymore.
Yeah.
So what does Napoleon do?
What's he do?
He marries Francis's daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, Archduchess Marie Louise in 1810. Beating someone in a war and marrying their daughter, boss move. And it also kind of breaks that whole keeping it in the family thing.
Yeah.
Napoleon is like, whoa, he's this revolutionary self-made ruler just coming into... I don't know. It was a shock to a lot of European royals at the time because the Habsburgs were one of the most prestigious royal families ever, and then Napoleon's Napoleon.
That's kind of his whole thing is just that your shit's all stupid. I'm just gonna take it from you.
Right, and also you're not gonna fight me because I'm married to your daughter.
Yeah. Good question.
Alliance.
Why are we in the 1800s now? Just because it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we got to go back a couple centuries.
Right.
We're just talking about some famous Habsburg shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting a feel for the family.
They've been around the whole
They've
fucking
been
time.
around. We got to go back to one of the most famous Habsburg rulers, Charles V. I figure, we start at the end. Where did it all fall apart in the Napoleonic Wars? And now back to the middle.
And Charles V is that the Charles we talked about on our Jeffrey episode?
Totally different Charles. This Charles is the son of Philip the Handsome and Joanna the Mad.
Okay.
And he became ruler of the Spanish Empire and the Holy Roman Emperor.
Damn.
And it's just too much.
Yeah.
It's just too much. So overwhelmed at all of this land, Charles V makes the decision to divide it up.
Okay.
And in 1556, he abdicated the Spanish throne in favor of his son, Philip II.
Okay.
Ceding control over Spain and its associated territories, which included the Spanish Netherlands. It's a fun thought. 2 years later, 2 years later, in 1558, Charles V would relinquish his title as the Holy Roman Emperor, passing it on to his younger brother, Ferdinand I, because Charles, quite frankly, was old and depressed and wanted to go retire to a monastery. So this act, him abdicating his thrones to his brother and his son, effectively split the Habsburg dynasty into two branches. The Spanish Habsburgs, beginning with Philip II, who focused on Spain and blah, 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 and the Austrian Habsburgs, starting with Ferdinand I, who centered their power in Central Europe and, would hold that title of Holy Roman Emperor for 400 years.
Sure.
Spanish Habsburgs, they fell apart in like 1700.
Yeah.
But the last Habsburg ruler ever was Charles I in Austria, who abdicated in 1918. He just couldn't do it. Marking the official end of the dynasty's rule. Yeah,
towards the end of the First World War, he just goes, I'm out. Fuck it.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm just teasing you guys. Because before we talk about Rudolph II, I'm going to have to tell you, how did the Habsburgs get into alchemy? What was the precedent for that?
How?
All right. You remember Charles V? We literally just talked about it.
Yes.
So. Well, thanks to the apparent discovery of America 8 years prior to his birth, Charles got to enjoy the significant financial benefits of colonization of the Americas.
Yes.
Primarily through gold and silver mines. Mm-hmm. Also, the Spanish crown was levying taxes on colonists and indigenous populations. They had a trade monopoly. They were selling commercial and slave trading licenses. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
That really helped to make Spain a European superpower.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, his brother Ferdinand in Austria? Yeah, a little bit more modest income over there, derived primarily from the chamber or cameral estates. And over time, these estates were mortgaged, leading to a decline in revenue and forcing the Austrian Habsburg rulers to turn to income from mines, monopolies, and indirect taxes such as those on beverages. Direct taxes were another key source of income, but landowners often shifted the tax burden to the general population who didn't always want to pay up. Mm-hmm. The taxation level varied across provinces, and wars against the Ottoman Empire brought additional financial strains onto the local populace. You see, defense against the Turks and the Hungarian and Croatian regions was super expensive. During the 1570s and 1580s, around 2,200 soldiers were stationed in these areas, necessitating the expenses for their wages, fortress construction, firearms, War's
Food.
expensive.
War is wicked expensive.
And if I've learned anything from Cruise Kings, it's that being at war is expensive.
Why do you keep calling it Cruise Kings?
I just like to call it that.
Okay.
No, but really, when you go to war, if you're not clever about it, you're losing money every day.
Well,
And-
yeah.
And once it gets too dire, you're going to have to sign a truce. And then you did all that for nothing.
Yeah.
I've played it. I've been there.
Unless you're fucking Raytheon and you just laughing your way to the bank.
Right?
Yeah.
So you know those cheat codes.
Cheat codes is just owning an arms company.
Yeah. Now, the financial burden of defense against the Ottomans was pretty severe. Couldn't be supported by the Kingdom of Hungary alone. So it required contributions from the Austrian and Bohemian provinces and the Holy Roman Empire. People didn't like that.
No,
Revolts by peasants. It's not good.
it's not.
So, driven by a need for money, the Habsburgs start investing their money in alchemical experiments, beginning with Maximilian II, Rudolph's father.
If they could just turn lead into gold,
If
their
they
problems would be
just
solved.
If they just could. So that's why they start experimenting with alchemy. Is
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they
They need some fucking
need
cash,
some
dog.
fucking money.
You know what? Like, I've been there. I understand.
They got all this. The people are unhappy. It's like, my God. Okay, oof. Yeah. So I'm glad you're all being patient because, to learn about Rudy, we need to learn about his country, his ancestry, his parents. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, Maximilian II married his first cousin, Maria of Spain, in 1458. Maria was the daughter of Emperor Charles V, so Joanna the Mad was grandmother to both Maximilian and Maria.
Excellent.
You gotta love it.
Yeah.
Same grandma. Yeah. But this was a dynastic alliance between the Austrian and the Spanish branch, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to strengthen the ties between them, and it succeeded at that. But it also succeeded at something else.
Oh, yeah?
Strengthened something else.
What's that?
You know, those genetic diseases
Yeah.
that can afflict families for generations? That's not going to come back and be a problem later, right? No, it's fine. Keeping it in the family.
Get that Habsburg jaw going.
Yeah. So Max, during his reign,
Yep.
he was known for his attempts to achieve religious peace within the empire, even though the Catholics and the Protestants were going at it. He himself had Lutheran sympathies, and he liked to try to find the middle path, but he was formally Catholic throughout his life because his wife was very strictly Catholic. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta.
So, yeah, his reign was pretty much marked by efforts to modernize the empire and make it more administratively efficient.
It's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Boring, but it's a good thing to do.
It's true. His religious policies weren't really well received, but, he was focused on other things. He was also focused on being a patron of the arts and sciences. He had a very magnificent court in Vienna. His own artists, musicians, scholars, so...
He was a patron. He was a patron of the arts.
He set the precedent for his son, who would become an even greater patron of the arts. And, like I said, driven by the desire to fill the family coffers, Max got into alchemy. They tried to turn sand into gold at one point. It didn't work.
No.
They probably wasted a lot of money doing this.
And a lot of sand.
Yes, but it did have some benefits. They learned some new metallurgical processes that they could use in their mining operations.
Okay.
And also, it kind of was a show of power. The effort to turn metals into gold is kind of like a performance in a way, symbolizing, like, look what we can do. We so fancy.
Yeah, there is a psychological component to that, to have an alchemist and like these state secrets and shit.
Right. Even if you don't necessarily know what they are or what's going on or if it succeeded, to just know that there are alchemists visiting the court and doing experiments is like, ooh. Okay. Now that we know about the Habsburgs and the geopolitical stage that Rudolph was born onto, we can talk about the legend himself.
Rudy?
Rudy.
Rudy can't fail, dog.
But he did. Born on July 18th, 1552, in Vienna to Emperor Maximilian II and Maria of Spain, Rudolph was groomed from an early age for his future role. As the eldest son, he was brought up in a rigorous academic regimen that covered a number of subjects. Got Latin, Greek, theology, math, the natural sciences, but his education wasn't confined to books. He also got to ride some horses, which he loved doing.
Oh.
He learned how to fence, and other martial skills considered essential for nobility. All this education, all this tutelage, only to then become a hermit. Gifted child syndrome in action.
Well,
you know?
Happens to the best of us.
All her life, Rudolph's mother, Maria, remained thoroughly Spanish. She kept
Thoroughly Spanish.
She did. She kept in close contact with her brother, Philip II. So, when Philip rang her up and was like, "Hey, sister, I'd like your sons to come over to Spain and complete their education here," she was like, "That sounds good to me." But Maximilian did not like that idea. In fact, every time they were about to go, he would have some reason why they couldn't, like postponing the departure.
Yeah.
Maria, however, insisted, hoping that any Protestant notions they might have acquired in Vienna would be erased in the strict Catholic court of Madrid.
Yeah, get him a good Catholic education.
Oh, yeah. And so, Rudolph II spent 8 formative years from roughly ages 11 to 19 in the Spanish court of his maternal uncle Philip II. Now, here's where I learned some crazy shit.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. In March 1564, Rudolph arrived in Spain accompanied by his younger brother Ernst, their court chamberlain Wolfgang von Rumpf, and this guy Count Adam von Dietrichstein,
Sure.
who was there for reasons we'll get to.
Okay.
In Barcelona, the boys were met by their uncle, the grave, black-clad Philip II, who immediately took them high up into the mountains to the gloomy monastery of Montserrat.
Oh, my God.
Which thou like to live deliciously.
What?
He's Black Philip.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen The Witch?
No.
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
They spent springtime at the monastery, then traveled to the summer palace of Aranjuez. Philip was ill with fever, but his younger sister and wife, presumably not the same person,
Okay.
took good care of Rudolph and Ernst, taking them out for hunts. Now, in the evenings, Philip would invite the boys to his bedside to entertain him by dancing and fencing. And that summer, they would travel to Madrid with Philip's son, their cousin, Don Carlos.
Don Carlos.
This is the crazy shit we gotta talk about.
Okay. It involves a Don Carlos?
Don Carlos was a disturbed little boy. Deformed from birth.
Okay.
Hunchbacked and pigeon-breasted with shoulders of differing heights.
Okay.
His right leg was shorter than the left.
Oh, he's all fucked up.
Yeah, his mom died 4 days after pushing this little monster out.
Oh, my God.
And even as a little boy, Don Carlos was difficult. He used to bite the breasts of his wet nurses.
Oh, my goodness.
It's said that nearly 3 of them died.
What?
It's said that 3 of them nearly died.
What?
Babies don't even have teeth.
Yeah. What the fuck?
You're really munching on them boobies.
Wow.
He finally started talking at the age of 5, but it remained difficult to understand what he was saying because of his severe speech impediment and high girlish voice.
Oh, my goodness.
You see, Don Carlos's parents were double first cousins.
Oh.
So due to the incestuous marriages of his immediate ancestors, that meant he only had 4 great-grandparents instead of the usual 8.
Oh.
And 2 of those great-grandparents were sisters. One of them being Joanna the Mad.
What? Yo, that's a clusterfuck. That's a... Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Don Carlos.
With his mother dead and his father often out of the country, Don Carlos grew up lonely, shy, and angry. Hardly 9 years old, he began torturing little girls, servants, and animals, even maiming the genitals of a dog.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Did you just toss him into the sea? What the fuck are you doing?
Right. During his father's absence in the 1550s, when, so Philip II, he fucked off to go marry Queen Bloody Mary.
Okay.
It was not a happy marriage because he thought that she was smelly. He didn't like her.
Okay.
Thankfully, she died in 1558.
Yeah.
That wasn't a problem anymore.
Sick.
But when his father was gone, off with Stinky Mary,
Yeah.
there was a distinct regression in Don Carlos's behavior.
Okay.
He went out to the stable and fucked up the horses so badly that 20 of them had to be put down.
What?
Yeah, he just went out in the barn and, like, maimed the horses.
What? Okay. There's big animals, dog.
Yeah, he was also fond of roasting small animals alive, especially rabbits. Once he bit off the head of a snake, but he had hobbies other than torturing things.
Okay.
He also liked eating and drinking.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah. And this is, man, just your parents sending you off for the summer, like, go hang out with your cousin.
Yeah, that's the cousin. Holy fuck.
Yeah. Don Carlos's tutor admitted to Philip that, like, listen, man, I don't think there's anything I can do to make your son learn. I'm sorry that this is your heir, but, like, this is not.
I get why Maximilian was like, they're not going to fucking Spain, dude.
Yeah.
Spain's fucked.
Right. Now, the courtiers argued, the Habsburg children are always late developers.
Right.
The years went by and still Don Carlos showed little interest in anything except food, wine, and torturing things.
Jesus.
In May 1556, some negotiations took place for a betrothal of Don Carlos and his cousin, the Archduchess Anna.
Oh, poor.
That's Rudolph's sister.
Okay.
Another possible bride was Elizabeth of France, who was the same age as Don Carlos, but in 1560, Philip II decided to marry her himself.
Okay. Okay.
While you're looking for brides for your son, hey, if
maybe
your
you
stinky
find one
wife
yourself.
just died,
right?
I
Hell.
don't know. Okay. So Don Carlos is sent away to go to school, and it's 1562, 2 years after his father marries one of his would-be brides. He falls down a staircase.
Hell yeah.
Probably while chasing after a servant's daughter that he was obsessed with.
Mm-hmm.
The fall resulted in a severe head injury.
Oh boy.
His head swelled up. He completely lost his vision.
Okay. Whoa, that's a big head hit.
Yeah, and despite various treatments, including drilling holes in his head, his condition worsened. And so his father, Philip II, resorted to prayer and quack remedies. It was only after a relic of the late holy Friar Diego was placed in bed with him that Don Carlos began to recover from his injuries.
Oh.
But even though he physically recovered, it's not like he was a new person after.
Right.
In fact, he kind of got worse.
I could believe it.
At first, he got really quiet and solemn, which was probably a welcomed change.
Yeah.
Then he began asking strange and meaningless questions.
Okay.
Then as time passed, his behavior would grow increasingly unstable. Here are some of the things he did.
Okay.
Attempted to throw himself out a window.
Oh, good.
Attempted to throw other people out windows.
Okay.
Attempted to stab the Duke of Alba with a sword.
Oh, my.
And this is my favorite part. A shoemaker made him a pair of boots that he fucking hated.
Oh.
So what did he do? He made the shoemaker eat the boots.
Made him eat the boots?
Yeah, he cut them up and made him eat the boots.
Jesus Christ.
Like, my man, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah, dude.
You're losing it.
He's completely gone.
So, yeah. Flash to the spring of 1564, when Don Carlos's cousins, Rudolph and Ernst of Austria, arrive in Spain for their tutelage.
Yeah. Okay.
This is 2 years after the whole staircase incident.
Right.
Yeah. And their father had sent along his representative, Count Adam von Dietrichstein, to accompany them. This was in an attempt to revive the plan for marriage between Don Carlos and the Archduchess Anna. Now, Maximilian, why? Why would you want your daughter to marry the man known for trying to stab people and bite heads off snakes?
Honestly.
I don't know. That's what he wanted, though. Well,
the dynasty.
When Count Dietrichstein inquired about the marriage, it got kind of quiet. I didn't really have any answers for him. And meanwhile, Rudolph and Ernst discovered that the Spanish court was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Philip II always dined alone.
Okay.
He did not want to eat with the queen or anyone else except on feast days when he had to.
Right.
Everybody seemed to keep to themselves.
Oh, God, this is so creepy.
Well, in August 1564, Don Carlos finally met his cousins, and together they traveled to Madrid in search of help for his ailments to make him a more suitable husband.
Okay.
Now, with the plan of a marriage to the Archduchess Anna in mind, Don Carlos underwent a variety of cures at the hands of physicians and apothecaries. Afterwards, I mean, God knows what happened or what they did to him, but you can only guess.
Yeah.
Don Carlos hurries back to Count Dietrichstein and is like, I passed the test. I passed it 5 times over. But when Dietrichstein contacted the doctors, they were like, yeah, our results were inconclusive. And the ambassador wrote, it seemed very unlikely that the crown prince would ever have children, and added the note, he's so mad and furious that everyone here pities the lot of women who will have to live with him.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
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 Well, in December 1567, Philip II allowed his 22-year-old heir to preside over the state council.
Good.
But Don Carlos did a shit job of that.
Yep.
He tried to involve his illegitimate uncle, Don Juan, in a plot, but Don Juan tattled on him.
Okay.
And it was around that same time that Don Carlos also told his confessor that he wanted to kill a man. And everything seemed to suggest that that man that he wanted to kill was his father, Philip II.
Okay.
So Philip would have his son locked up in a tower.
Well.
From then on, it was forbidden to even make mention of Don Carlos, or in conversation or in prayers. Don't even fucking pray for him.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, in confinement, Don Carlos started doing some weird stuff.
Well, yeah.
He would go on hunger strikes. They would force feed him soup. And he wouldn't eat food, but he just started swallowing random things in the room, like jewelry. He ate a diamond ring. And when he was officially pronounced guilty for treason, it was said that the penalty would be death.
Yeah.
Afterwards, Philip II kind of went and shut himself away. He's all depressed. Meanwhile, like, Rudolph and Ernst are still in the court. Like, they're doing their study, and this is all going on around them.
Jesus
like, their
Christ.
cousin that they knew and that they tried to help find a cure for, is now, like, all locked up and, like...
He's too fucked. Put him in the tower.
Put him in the tower. Yeah. He also... the other thing that Don Carlos did is he tried to get control over the Netherlands.
Oh.
He wanted Flanders for himself.
You can't have Flanders for yourself.
You can't have Flanders.
Yeah.
You can if you play Crusader Kings.
Yeah.
So, Don's just confined in the tower. He's got a raging fever. He's vomiting everywhere. He keeps waffling in between starvation and then, like, binging and purging and, like, eating a lot and then starving. He poured a bunch of ice water all over the floor of his prison chamber. It would just roll around naked in the ice. He had them drop off a bunch of snow in there for him, too. For days, he only ate fruit. And finally, he asked for a pastry, an enormous pie. He devoured the giant pie.
Okay.
And he drank 10 liters of water with the pie. Then he became violently ill.
Yeah.
And they tried to give him his last sacrament, which he also vomited. And then he was pronounced dead.
Okay.
It's thought that he was poisoned slowly, but,
Yeah.
you know, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Wow. What a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you wonder why Rudolph would then become paranoid that his family might be trying to kill him for being wacky. Like, he would develop all of these paranoid delusions.
Okay.
But, like, not without precedent. Because that's
Right,
kind of
right.
the thing that happens in this family is you...
A lot of them are a bit fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta
Put him in the
out
tower.
pasture. Yeah.
Off to the tower you go. And so, Prince Don Carlos was dead, and Philip's young queen, the 22-year-old Elizabeth of France, she was grieving so badly over her stepson's death that Philip forbade her to weep. It was
Jesus.
thought by some people that Elizabeth might have been fucking Don Carlos, but I think that's pretty unlikely.
That's I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. He seemed pretty unfuckable.
He seemed pretty unfuckable. Everything you just said about this man suggests unfuckability.
Yeah. Well, at the time of his death, she happened to be pregnant. The longed-for heir to replace Don Carlos. You know, finally, somebody to take on the mantle.
Yeah, yeah.
But in early October, she fainted, bled all over the place and gave birth prematurely.
Well,
Both mother and child died at once.
Jesus.
And so in 1570, Philip II married his niece, the Archduchess Anna,
Oh my God.
the one who was set to wed Don Carlos. And thus, keeping it in the family.
Yeah.
Woo! We're keeping it in the family. We're keeping it in the family. Me and my sister love each other more than life.
So, Rudolph's sister has just married his uncle.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Spanish court's pretty depressing.
Yeah, it sounds
Pretty gloomy,
fucked.
lonely, full of trauma. Finally, after Philip gets married again, Rudolph and Ernst are permitted to go back home to Vienna. They could not have been happier about it.
Yeah.
Rudolph wrote, "I was seized with such joy the following night that I could not bring sleep into my eyes." Yeah. So they go back to Vienna.
Yay.
Yay, and Rudolph's acting kind of weird now.
Well, yeah, that's to be expected, really.
He's very formal, reserved, kind of aloof.
Yeah.
This is worrying to his dad, but it pleases his mom because he's acting like a Catholic.
He got a good Catholic education.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He really did.
Fucking Christ.
Yeah, Max noted that his sons had become afflicted with Spanish humors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fucking miserable.
I know. He ordered them to change their bearing, but it was too late.
Yeah.
From this point on, Rudolph would remain a private individual, averse to travel, and just uninterested in the routine governance of the state. Instead, he was captivated by the occult sciences such as astrology and alchemy,
Yep.
fields considered pretty mainstream at that time.
Yeah, for sure.
He also got really into horses and clocks.
It's all tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, by this point, Maximilian was struggling with his duties as a king. He was ridden with various health issues, heart attacks, gout, probably syphilis. Everybody had syphilis.
Yeah.
In an effort to secure his son's succession, Maximilian arranged for Rudolph to be crowned King of Hungary and Bohemia in 1572. Also initiated plans for him to be crowned King of the Romans. Maximilian's health worsened during a trip to Regensburg, and despite pressure from his devout Catholic wife Maria and other family members to receive Catholic rites, he didn't.
Yeah.
And he passed away.
Well,
Fuck him.
he's in hell now.
Get wrecked. 2 weeks later, the German electors named Rudolph as the new emperor, and he was officially crowned the 1st of November, 1576. Now, the transition of power was pretty smooth, because, Max had more or less taken steps to ensure that his son was ready for the basics.
Yeah.
But, like we mentioned, Rudolph inherited an empire fraught with issues.
Yeah.
The internal religious tensions between Catholics and Protestants, they hadn't died down. In fact, it's only gotten worse. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire, still a huge threat. They're just pressing at the empire's southeastern borders. But when Rudolph became an emperor, his worst trouble wasn't with the Turks or the Protestants. It was his relatives who drove him up the fucking wall telling him what he should do all the time. He tried his best to rule, but his Spanish relatives were in his ear. They wanted him to somehow simultaneously uproot the heretics in the Czech and Hungarian kingdoms, to fight the Protestant princes in the empire, and also battle the Turks. How am I supposed to do all of this? I can't do all of that.
Everyone's a fucking critic.
Yeah. And despite his gifted intelligence, he suffered from dark moods that would continue to deepen after his crowning. These were troubled times.
Doesn't sound like wearing a crown is very fucking fun at all.
Sounds like a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Germany's really divided by the Protestants and Catholics, and he knows what his mother wants him to do. He'd been raised in his uncle's Catholic court.
Right.
But yet, he had kind of inherited his father's stance on religion, which was, he's tolerant of them, including Judaism. But that didn't mean he wanted to do anything to help them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, during the whole Counter-Reformation, the Catholic Church is actively trying to counteract the spread of Protestantism.
Yeah.
The Jesuits were a big part of that. They're establishing their schools and universities, trying to convert and reconvert regions that had been converted to Protestantism.
Right.
Well, when they show up at Rudolph's court, he's like, I don't know. I don't know who to trust. So he just does nothing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of his MO, which contributes to political instability and risks the ignition of a civil war. And,
you can't just do nothing.
Yeah. He had kind of a do-nothing, fear-everything approach to governance.
That's sort of the worst approach to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this kind of reflected his internal struggles at the same time. Like, the way that he approached governance was also the way that he approached life.
Right.
And this all took place, you got a bunch of natural and man-made disasters. You got Turkish invasions going on, outbreaks of plague, by the way, that's going on. Earthquakes in Vienna. So a bunch of shit is all tumultuous. And Rudolph, he has his first breakdown. 1577, he withdraws from public life. He loses a bunch of weight. Everybody's worried for him. Some people think that, like, is he dying? What's going on with the king?
I know so many people like Rudolph.
Yeah.
I'm one of them, too.
I know. That's why I wanted to tell his story, because I was like, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do if I was forced to be fucking king or queen.
God, I like to think I'd do better than that.
Yeah.
At this point in my life. But
Now, I don't believe that he was just apathetic to everything going on. I think he genuinely didn't know what the fuck to do.
Right.
And because he didn't know what to do and it was all so overwhelming, he wanted to just focus on the things that gave his depressing life meaning, which were the occult, the arts.
Yep.
Because by modern standards, he had severe depression.
Yep.
Which makes it pretty hard to do basic day-to-day things like eat, bathe, sleep, socialize.
Yep.
So I have to imagine the day-to-day governance of a holy Roman Empire. That's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? Let alone being, like, blamed or told that you have to do something about these huge disputes that are tearing the empire apart. Like, you know, I can forgive him for being disengaged. It's just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in 1583, Rudolph decides that he's going to move his court from Vienna over to Prague in Bohemia. Now, why does he do that? We'll get to that.
Okay.
But it's here that he turns to the study of astronomy and magic and, like, dives into it.
Alchemy too, yeah.
Yep, starts collecting objects for his Kunstkammer.
What is a Kunstkammer?
His art chamber.
Okay.
And throughout his reign, he invites over 50 alchemists to his castle.
Yeah.
Including John Dee and Edward Kelly.
Yeah.
Who, Edward Kelly once sold him a manuscript of what could have been complete nonsense.
Likely.
For like $100,000.
I'm entirely sure it was complete fucking nonsense. That man was a...
Yep. Well, you want to hear something else that's crazy? As soon as Rudolph II heard that Edward Kelly was this brilliant alchemist that could maybe turn things into gold, he was like, I gotta get that guy.
I gotta get him.
So he has Edward Kelly arrested for illegal dueling.
Okay.
But on the grounds that he can capture him so that he can force him to make gold for him. Well, turns out that he's having trouble producing the gold.
He had a lot of trouble doing that.
Kelly tries to escape prison, ends up breaking his leg. That has to be amputated.
Oh my God.
Tries to escape again. That fails. Finally, takes some poison to end his own life. And that's how Edward Kelly died.
Jesus
as a prisoner
Christ.
of Rudolph II, because he couldn't make gold.
Well, because I believe that John Dee and Edward Kelly ended up in the court of Rudolph II because the fucking angels told him to go there around.
A fitting end for a con man.
Very much so. Yeah.
Now, one of the primary reasons for the move to Prague was its strategic location. It was situated in the Kingdom of Bohemia, and Prague was more centrally located than Vienna, making it a little bit easier to administer, like, the sprawling territories of the empire. Vienna's a little bit more off to the side.
Yeah.
A little bit more central. Also, it takes them further away from the Ottoman Empire, so the court's a little bit less vulnerable.
Just in case shit goes down.
Right.
Yeah.
Another reason is Prague's relative religious tolerance. You know, it's a kind of a refuge.
It's a groovier place.
It's just a groovier place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It provided a little bit more religious freedom and, grounds to be a good patron. It's a place that will attract unique artists and thinkers of the time.
He liked the vibe.
He did. He decided that's the place where I want to build my own little world of weirdos. I want to make my court a place where I never have to leave it and I can just be safe and happy there and look at all the shiny things that I like.
Yep.
Yep. Did our boy ever get married, though?
Did he?
It's a good question. Well, he had plans to marry a Spanish princess named Isabella Clara Eugenia.
Like, me too, bud, but
Yeah. That would have expanded his territory significantly across Europe, but Isabella grew tired of Rudolph's weird behavior and lack of confidence and married his brother instead.
Time's a flat circle, baby.
Yeah. Now, much like Queen Elizabeth I of England at the time, Rudolph was one of those people who, he was considered a potential marriage partner in a lot of diplomatic talks, but never actually got married. He was kind of just dangled in front of people.
Jeez.
In fact, there are claims that he might have been gay. Okay.
Fucking timing on that. Holy shit. That got me good.
Fruity, oh, Rudy.
Wow.
Yeah, during times when he would withdraw from his public life, it said that he was having an affair with his court chamberlain, that Von Rumpf guy.
Oh, Von Rumpf.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, various other people.
Sure.
He's probably bisexual, actually, though. He's said to have had a succession of affairs with women, most notably his mistress, Katharina Strada. Now, their eldest son, Don Julius Caesar de Austria, was likely born between 1584 and 1586.
Okay.
In 1607, Rudolph sent his son Julius to go live in Bohemia and be the Lord of Krumau. And Julius, he was doing some stuff over there. He was scaring people.
Oh, yeah?
The servants were quitting.
Okay.
Yeah. Julius took a concubine while he was over there, while he was Lord of Krumau.
Okay.
This concubine was named Marushka.
Marushka.
And within a few months of being together, Julius became so angry with her that he attacked her with a knife and threw her bleeding body from his window.
Whoa.
She landed in the castle pond. She survived. While recovering in her parents' home, Julius ordered her to return to him. But her father refused to let her go. So, he had her father thrown in prison and condemned to death.
Jesus.
5 weeks later, the girl returned, and Julius went fucking nuts.
Oh, no.
Started stabbing her.
Oh, God.
Cut off her ears.
What the fuck?
Gouged out one of her eyes.
Jesus Christ.
Smashed her teeth and split her skull and flung pieces of her around the room. After 3 hours, he finally recovered and decided to call in one of his servants and say, "Please wrap her up and take her away." And, yeah, he had the personal privilege of nailing down the lid of her coffin, too.
Whoa.
Yeah, well...
That's horrifying.
It's really horrifying.
Yeah.
Rudolph condemned his son's act. Didn't like this. Suggested,
Good.
Yeah, he's going in the tower.
You put him in the tower.
Put him in the tower.
What you gotta do, sometimes you gotta put him in the tower.
Yeah. Well, I guess they never had to, murder him or sentence him to death or anything.
Just left him in the tower?
Yeah, they left him in the tower, and he kind of just refused to bathe and lived in squalor until eventually an ulcer ruptured.
Okay.
And sent him to his grave.
All right.
Goodbye, Don Julius.
It's basically what they did with Shoko's horror, too. Put him in the tower. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta put him in the tower.
Man. Yeah. So now we're heading towards the end of his life, because it's only 3 years after the death of his son that he dies.
Okay. Well, I want to hear more about his, alchemy and magic and stuff.
I hate to say it. I'm gonna have to listen to the bonus episode for more of that.
Okay.
Because that's where we're going to get into the Golem of Prague and more of the magical, mystical stuff that was happening at the time. This is like the character study of Rudolph.
Gotcha.
So, over the years, he was a moody man. He would switch between being really engaged with everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And like really super interested. And then he would get really sad, paranoid, depressed, and angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. While Rudolph would retreat from his public affairs, Wolfgang von Rumpf, his chief minister and longtime companion, would start to attain almost total control over the empire.
Okay.
By 1599, Rudolph became convinced that Rumpf was up to shady things behind his back. You know, maybe conspiring to kill him or...
Perhaps.
Who knows? Well, he forced Rumpf to resign, but then later took him back.
Okay.
You know, swinging that Rumpf around.
Yeah, you gotta...
Just it.
Sometimes you gotta bring the Rumpf back.
Yeah. Now, around Easter, Rudolph fired a lot of his servants, and he was just banishing people from court. Like...
Yeah.
It almost seems like holidays brought out even more paranoia in him.
Okay. Interesting.
And then, after he banished a bunch of people, kind of got a little bit more normal again for a little bit. He ends up fleeing Prague because he's scared of the plague.
Yeah,
he wants to go be somewhere else. So he goes and he stays for a year in isolation. And the typical pattern continues. Attacks of paranoia, weeks of calmness. Attacks of paranoia, weeks of calmness.
Yeah.
Then in June 1600... Well, this is going back in time, just so we're clear about that. This is before his son does any of this shit. So after his year of isolation, he returns to Prague, and he's even attending parties.
Okay.
He's going out on hunts. He's a man about town.
He's a man about town?
He's changed. Oh, no, he's hallucinating again. He thinks that somebody placed a curse on him.
Oh, no.
That people are trying to poison him. Attempts suicide repeatedly.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Couple different methods. He breaks a window, tries to use the glass to slit his throat. Another time, he tries to use the cords on the curtain.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he was doing good, and then he's doing real bad.
Yeah.
Then he dismisses Rumpf for good.
Okay.
From then on, after Rumpf is gone, pretty much the whole council completely paralyzed. Because he's not accepting any decisions. He doesn't want to make any decisions.
Interesting.
No choices whatsoever. Don't come to me with anything. So everything's held up. Because he can't make a choice.
But at the same time, he was like giving a bunch of money to a bunch of weirdos and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. And like making the place groovier.
That he did.
Yeah.
He did do that. And during this period where he's not making any choices, nobody's making them for him.
Yeah.
He just stops appearing in public, and he orders to have all of his galleries and walkways covered so that he can walk around the palace without being observed by anyone. He also starts taking his meals alone, every day. At the exact same time, every day, in the exact same room, all alone, just like his uncle Philip II of Spain had.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And of course, priests or prayers of any kind just irritated him. He did not want, like, any sacrament or anything. Like, don't come at me with that religious shit.
Yeah.
Now, as his health was deteriorating, both mental and physical, I have to say he was not a very healthy man in spirit or body.
Right.
He becomes more and more challenging to reach. Where is he? He's in the Kunstkammer.
The Kunstkammer.
He's just in his big old chamber, and he's got more than art in there, by the way. He's also got animals.
Okay.
Like, he collects exotic animals.
Okay.
And he's kind of like us. I feel like we're collectors at heart.
Yeah.
Like, of information, of stories, perhaps. Maybe not so much physical objects anymore. When I was younger, I liked collecting.
I don't collect anything specific, but I like cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was a collector.
Yeah.
And if he couldn't get an object that he wanted, he would commission to have a copy.
Okay.
So he gets over like 3,000 objects in his Kunstkammer. And they're divided into 3 categories. You got your naturalia, your natural history objects, your zoology, botany, mineralogy. He's got like rocks and crystals and all
Yeah.
shit. He's got his scientifica, the clocks, watches, globes,
Yeah.
different technology, instruments, things like that.
Yeah.
Then the artificalia, so like coins, prints, fine craftsmanship,
Sure.
things like that. His prize items were the crystals that he would use to calm down his anxiety.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
He's just like us.
No, not like me, dog.
Like the collective us.
I don't fuck with that.
He's a crystal man.
He's a crystal guy.
He also loved his corals, his fossils, his whales.
I mean, that's cool as shit.
He claimed to own a grain of earth that God had made Adam. He also said that he owned 2 nails from Noah's Ark.
Okay.
That he had a basilisk and that he had some dragons.
So this is that court,
Yeah.
right? Like that's where that vibe comes from. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now,
That's been a cool fucking Kunstkammer, I'll tell you what.
no, really though. But like, because he was so enthusiastic about collecting all sorts of crazy shit, it just made him like moths to a flame. And the moths were scam artists.
Right. Right.
Like, you know, because he wants the rare manuscripts. He wants the cool shit from across the sea. He
You
wants the
can
hidden
sell
treasure.
him a couple nails and tell him they're from Noah's Ark.
You totally could.
Yeah. God.
Now, as cool as the Kunstkammer was, it did not stay.
Cool as a Kunstkammer.
Still didn't stop the depression.
It never does.
Never does. Now, fearing a Protestant takeover of England thanks to Rudolph's ineffectiveness, Rudy's brother and heir, Matthias, met with his older brother and cousins in Vienna to cook up a scheme. Now, Rudolph and Matthias had always, like, he'd always been jealous of his brother.
Yeah.
Always, like, a brotherly rivalry there. So, of course, I imagine it kind of stung when Matthias was named head of the House of Habsburg. They gave him the regency. Yeah, and they take a whole army with Matthias at the head, and they march up to the gates of Prague, and they force Rudolph to sign over Hungary, Moravia, and Bohemia.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and he does it, but he throws the pen on the floor after. 'Cause,
Yeah, fuck yeah.
like, literally that happens. And they let him keep, like, the imperial crown and the title, but it's just like to maintain a shred of dignity. It's
Right.
But, you know, yeah.
Well, he wasn't really doing anything.
He wasn't really.
Yeah.
He really wasn't. So he retires to a castle in Prague, and he just lives a quiet life among his menagerie of exotic animals who start to die. His
Yeah.
favorite lion and 2 eagles,
Oh.
they die, and this really seems to mark the waning of his own vitality.
Yeah.
Yeah. He turns to alcohol, probably to numb his loneliness and discomfort. He succumbs to dropsy in December.
Always got the dropsy.
Got the dropsy. Also probably had syphilis, according to the people who examined his body after his death. And, yeah, he passes away from bad health.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, despite the setbacks that he faced towards the end of his life, the people of Prague mourned him. They called him the Good Lord.
Interesting.
Yeah, because, you know, his reign was remembered as kind of a golden age of Prague.
For that specific place.
Yeah.
That's really, yeah.
For that specific place, he's remembered as, like, a really cool guy.
Yeah. A terrible emperor, great mayor?
Yeah. Like, so that to me is the complexity of Rudolph. Because, like, okay, the empire weakened under his watch, right?
Yes.
A lot of religious division, a lot of external threats on the rise. He does nothing about it. But what he does is he tries to construct his own idealized world within his court.
Yeah.
A place where liberties that are increasingly under siege at the time,
Right.
like artistic freedom, intellectual freedom, spiritual freedom, like all of these things, they're allowed to exist within his court.
Right.
It's also a time when, you know, the boundaries between science and art and the occult are really less distinct than they are now.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, you know, well, looking back on his reign, you might think, oh, he was just involved in a bunch of, like, nonsense. He wasted his time. Well, not really, because a lot of the people that he patronized were at the forefront of what would evolve into modern science.
And art.
Yeah. And occultism.
Yeah, I mean, there's just the fact that he was, like, cool with the Jews and the Catholics and the Protestants, like, allowed ideas to mix with art and for a sort of alchemical synthesis to happen, you know. The famous painting of, like, what looks to be like the Green Man, but made out of, like, fruits and, like, corn and shit.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Rudolph commissioned that.
Yeah, that's a portrait of Rudolph II as Vertumnus by Giuseppe Arcimboldo.
He was also known for commissioning a lot of erotic art.
Yeah.
Which kind of made him, like, salacious.
Well, that's the thing. That's bohemian. When you talk about, like, someone's a bohemian.
Right?
That's where it comes from. It comes from the court of Rudolph II and, like, the vibe of Prague, of Bohemia during his reign. All, you know, erotic art and fucking gadgets and alchemy and occultism and shit, and, like, religious tolerance and perhaps even, like, sexual freedom to an extent. Like,
yeah,
like that is sort of what Rudolph did.
Mm-hmm.
If there's like one thing that he actually did, which was create bohemian as a slang term for that shit. Like, we would call it bohemian now.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, like in Prague now, like, there's these, like, house signs all around the city that represent the stages of alchemy and shit. Like he was really into all that. And I mean, there was, like, a ton of, it wasn't just him too. Like, there was a ton of alchemists in Prague. They, like, a flood in 2000s uncovered, like, this literally underground alchemist lab in the Jewish quarter that was, like, huge and shit.
Yes,
like,
that's what I want to talk about that on our bonus episode.
Yeah.
The Jewish stuff.
Because there's a lot of Jewish stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it seems like he was a man outside of time.
Exactly.
You know?
Because, like, the benefits of his reign were not immediately apparent in the geopolitical sphere of the time.
Right.
At the time, it seemed like, oh, what a failure. But looking back, we can see that, no, the things that he contributed to were actually really important.
And he was fucking terrible at the tasks that the time required that were in a couple hundred years on their fucking way out.
Also, our boy had depression.
Oh, yeah, he was depressed as shit.
He didn't ask to be an emperor either.
No.
He was just born into it.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of pressure. And that doesn't really, like, absolve him of being a total political and military failure, I guess.
I mean,
but
like,
it kind of does.
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I would do as an emperor. I don't think I would do very well, honestly.
Exactly. So, like, what do you do when you are born into this role that you're supposed to play, but it's really not the one that you're good at?
You do that, I guess.
I guess what you try to do is, to me, I'm looking over at the 9 of coins, the 9 of pentacles.
Oh, yeah, that's his garden. That's his Kunstkammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the one place where he did have freedom because, you know, it's this woman, she's standing in, the sky is golden. She's wearing golden robes and she's in a garden. She has a bird and she's abundant. She's comfortable.
She is comfortable, but okay.
But this is not what Rudolph's life was like.
No, because Rudolph's love of art ended at the I don't want to just say the aesthetic part of it, because he was also interested in learning about this.
But
shit.
It seems like he was a person that didn't like people.
He didn't like people, and he also didn't apply any of the occult or scientific knowledge he got to balancing his own checkbook, to making his court and garden an efficient engine that does things.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, he spent a whole lot of time just doing nothing and then being really depressed. And I wonder if a lot of his mood swings were due to, like, feeling ineffective, not knowing what choice to make, just feeling paralyzed all the time.
Well, so that's sort of the thing, right? Like, you've got...
He had all of the tools at his disposal to enjoy his life.
But he made the mistake that many occultists, smart fucks, artists make, which is looking for this solution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the elixir of life or the philosopher's stone or fucking,
Yep.
you know, if I can get this solution, this will fix it all.
Right.
This will fix it all. Where it's not.
I need more things for my Kunstkammer.
Right.
When it's like, isn't it, you got 3,000 fucking objects. When is enough enough?
Right. It's about, like, if you have a love of clocks, like, to use an example, like, maybe, like, think about the clocks and, like, how clocks work, and, like, let that, the way that shit will transform your life is if you let it work on you as well, and you find the reason that bitch is so happy in the Nine of Discs bitch, is because not only is her garden beautiful, but it provides what she needs. It's an efficient engine. That
I also get the sense from her that she put in the work to make this happen.
Exactly.
Rudolph
exactly. That's a big part of the Nine of Discs.
Put in the work.
Right. It was just there.
He hired other people, and he didn't ever make any choices.
Right. You sort of have to make, I think that, because I've been dealing with some pretty fucking heavy depression, like, for like 4 fucking years now. You know, it's like, let's see how fucking microdosing mushrooms works. I feel good today, so.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you just should have eaten some fucking mushrooms. I should one of those fucking conquistadors bring back some of that funny fungus from the New World. But they didn't, and that's why they suck. But I do think that in order to be satisfied in life, and in order to not, a lot of my depression comes from feeling ineffectual and feeling like I'm not part of the world a lot of times. And I think that it creates this fucking feedback loop.
It does.
Where you don't do anything, and so you can't see your will worked within the world. You can't see that you are actually a part of the world, where you need to actually put yourself into the machinery of the world itself and let it work on you as you work on it.
Instead, what Rudolph did is he tried to bring that to him.
Exactly.
Not realizing, like, man, it was all within you the whole time.
Right. Well, it also reminds me of, like, in the Bhagavad Gita, fucking Arjuna and Krishna, where the crux of that story is Krishna is the charioteer for Arjuna, and this big war between Arjuna and his uncle, this like apocalyptic fucking war. And Arjuna is like waffling back and forth, like essentially in the middle of the field of battle, like mid-charge. And he's like, I can't fucking do this. This is all so terrible. Like, why are me and my uncle about to kill each other, and all these fucking poor innocent people? Like, this is fucked. I can't do this. I can't do anything. And Arjuna basically says, like, look, you didn't choose where you were. You didn't choose how the world works. You didn't choose how, like, yeah, war is happening because it does. And if you think that, like, you have any bearing on that, like, you're fucked. Hey, look at me. I'm a god. And then he does the whole I am become death thing, and he says, like, basically, like, Arjuna, you are where you are, and you have to be a part of the thing you are inherently a part of.
Right.
Now fucking stand up, Arjuna, and do what you have to do. And Rudolph couldn't do that. No. He didn't get that message that he actually had to stand up and fucking decide something.
Right.
Yeah. That's an important fucking lesson, I think.
It really is. Yeah. It is. It's a cautionary tale.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah, the world is kind of terrible sometimes. Sure enough.
Yeah, I guess it would be pretty awful to be asked to make decisions about shit that you really, like, don't care about and can't wrap your head around. Like, our king, what should we do about the Protestants? It's like, man, I don't care. Right. It's like, okay.
Well, so the Nine of Discs is about not the secret garden as a place to escape from the world, but as a place that cleanses and purifies your own thinking so that you may bring that peace and clarity to bear outside of the garden. That's, I think, what the Nine of Discs signifies.
Right.
It's like cleaning your fucking desk so you write better, which is a real thing.
It is.
It's not cleaning your desk just to have a clean desk so you can say, look at my clean desk. Yeah.
Yeah. Rudolph wanted to live in the world of the Nine of pentacles.
Right.
But didn't realize that in order to get there, you got to go through all the other parts of the tarot, too.
And he also couldn't bring it down into Malkuth as well.
Right.
He was living in the sphere of dreams in Yesod in pre-manifestation.
Yeah.
And couldn't actually actualize
It's like he lived his whole life dreaming, like, waiting for, like, I want to discover something big. I want to, like... But really, nothing happened.
Yeah. It never does when you're like that.
Yeah.
But it's a tempting fucking place to be, though.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a smart fuck. You get a lot of reward from learning things.
Yeah, and you
reading
get
things.
a nice big collection that you can go in and look at.
Distract yourself for a day until you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Do it again. Then do it
and
again.
do it again and do it again. And then you don't have to actually engage.
Until you have to throw your son in a tower.
Right.
Yeah. He did make that decision. He did do that.
That was the right call.
Yeah. Put him in the tower.
When in doubt, put him in the tower.
Yep.
That brings us to the end. If you want to know more, though, and you're interested about this time period, we're going to be going back on our bonus episode.
Hell yeah. You can get access to that at patreon.com/thenonsensebazaar, starting at just $5 a month. You'll get our bonus series, The Corkboard Bazaar. We're talking about golems too, right?
Yep.
Fuck yeah. And get access to our Discord server.
A lot of fun in there.
A lot of fun in there. A lot of cool discussions.
Where we hang out.
Really interesting cats. Oh yeah, I'm like so fucking done with like so much other social media.
Me too.
Like, I'm basically just in Discord is where I do my shit posting.
Yeah, so if you want to come hang.
Yeah, go to patreon.com/nonsensebazaar. Only $5 a month. And it helps keep us ad free. Helps
keep us sad free.
Helps keep us sad free. The mushrooms don't buy themselves, baby. And yeah, take care of yourselves. We love you. Leave us a rating or review. Tell your friends. Tell your holy Roman emperor.
Tell your lion and eagles.
And the Jesuits. All right, peace, guys.
Take care.